I'm super excited that Tucker Hood from Kay.ai is giving us some of his time today. I've gotten to know Tucker a little bit through just, of course, email communication, but then also had the pleasure of hanging out a little bit at some conferences, and most recently the IIAD event, All Industry Day up in Irving, Texas. And we were joking before we started recording that we could actually have recorded this live in the same place because he's just up the road in the Fort Worth area, and I'm just south of Dallas in Waxahachie. So I'll stop running my gums. But Tucker, thank you so much for giving us some time. And it's awesome to be able to talk. You're the first person I've ever talked to who's the founding director of sales for a solution provider, and you all are partners with us, so we really appreciate it. Tucker, I've given a lot of airtime to myself. What about you? What would you like to say to introduce yourself to anybody who might be listening?
Yeah, Casey, super excited to be here. Always fun to be with you on a call. Most people don't know you can drive an hour and a half, 2 hours through the DFW Metroplex and not get all the way through it. Yeah, but really excited. I've been in early stage startups for 10 years. It's my kind of love outside of what I like to do in my free time, and really excited to bring a newer solution to insurance agencies. I've spent half my career in insurance agency world building other insurtechs. So I'm excited to talk and solve real problems for agencies out there.
Okay, I'm gonna put a mental note in there that we need to follow up and talk about some of those past insurtechs that you've been a part of, because I'm sure the stories would be wonderful. But focusing really just heavily on K, I want to ask a silly question that I should know the answer to, but I don't. Do you all, when you're talking about K, do you say K or do you say KAI? Or what's the vernacular that you and Vishal and the team like tend to go with?
I usually use K, and a lot of times I catch myself in demos saying she. I don't know if she's a she or he, honestly, but I don't know how it identifies. But I use K when I'm sending out like messages, like cold email. I use KAI because I think it's a little bit more catching to the eye when you know it's AI solutions. When I'm talking K, when I'm writing KAI, I guess. Hadn't thought about
Perfect. Yeah, I wonder about it because when I'm at a trade show or when I'm on a consulting call and I'm like, oh, K would be good for them. What you just said, if I say K, they might think I'm talking about a person, but if I say KAI, gives tips the hand a little bit.
that.
From just like an elevator pitch perspective, a lot of agents that might listen or watch have no idea what K is. So could you give us like the elevator pitch so somebody might have the background to understand what we're talking about?
So when I think about insurance agencies using AI, there's three buckets, and this will help frame things up. One is communication AI. These are agents that are going to communicate back and forth via email, chat, or like on the phone. And you've probably heard of a couple of those. There's generative AI, things that do look at a policy, do policy checking, will spit something back out to you when you ask a question, just like ChatGPT. There's a couple solutions out there for that. And then there's what we call agentic AI. That's where K lives. So agentic AI is essentially using computer usage agents. These are agents that replicate what people do on computers and things that people do and tasks that they're doing on different websites. So that can be a wide variety of things, but we're actually replicating what a human does in your agency management system and a carrier portal, extracting data and doing data entry.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. With that in mind, and that's super helpful to me. I hope it's helpful to other people as well. What are some of the use cases that are driving agents or agencies to K that's like the pain point or the wedge issue that's getting them to leverage your solution?
The number one thing that we've picked up, and this has been driven by the market, is submissions. So people going into carrier portals, putting in the same data 5 to 10 times and filling out the same questions over and over again is something that we pick up. There's servicing work. Again, going into carrier portals or going and grabbing documents from the same location that people are doing over and over again. There's been other solutions, and this may help maybe the next question that's coming, like raters out in the market that do things like this today, but they're really not getting real quotes back because they're using an API that a lot of time is not updated on the carrier's end. They don't update their risk. So it gives you this billboard view of, hey, we might the risk, here's a baseline quote, but then the agent is still going in and doing this repetitive task over and over again. A lot of things have been built in the market that maybe get you halfway there or allow you to maybe copy paste some information, but don't always do the end-to-end workflow, which is what we're able to teach and do with our agentic AI.
Okay, that's awesome. So if an agency is experiencing that pain point, like rating either like maybe renewals or new business, Like, how long does it take an agency to get up and running with that use case of going in and running quotes, getting running reports, and doing all the things from start to finish so that's an actual real bindable quote?
Short answer is 2 to 4 weeks. So a lot of our implementations start with a handful of carriers and SOPs that we're going to implement as we're teaching the AI to do that specific workflow. A lot of these we've already done before with top carriers in the market, but it's pretty fast. And what's really cool is we've got agencies that have stood up that quickly. And for instance, reshops, we have a large agency in Florida that was spending 75 minutes per reshop, now spending 5 minutes per reshop.
Okay, so in that use case, that agency has a person who's managing that process. They have
Yeah.
indicated for whatever reason, customer X needs to be remarketed. They can trigger K to go out and execute or get those remarkets done. And within 5 minutes, they have the documentation, the quotes that they need to make the decision to advise the client correctly.
So important to have a distinction between human time spent and time it takes to get something back. So they were, as a CSR, spending about 75 minutes throughout the whole process to get it
Sure.
done. We've shaved that time that they actually spend on it to about 5 minutes of time that they're spending on the process. But the answer is yes. So essentially, they're reshopping 85% of their renewals today just because of Florida rates and how the market is going. They basically will send a trigger to Kay via email with all the data that they need to do a reshop. We go out to their top markets, we fill out all the data and do all the data entry with complicated home insurance in Florida and can get those real quotes back. Really, all they're doing is sending the trigger and then they're getting the info and picking up the phone and driving that relationship instead of plugging all the data into the AMS. So they're basically making their CSRs about 60% more productive is the number that they gave us, which prevents them from hiring another 60 to $80,000 employee in the next couple months.
Okay. Wow. So is the trigger system that you just mentioned about like they send an email with the information needed to remarket, is the emailing the trigger for most of the workflows that Kay can perform, or are there other ways to do it too?
Yeah, for our kind of retail solution where we're getting stood up really quick, email or uploading into the app is the typical workflow. We do have some enterprise clients that are doing a lot more interesting things, I'll put it that way, where maybe they're kicking off in bulk with renewal and they're saying 90 days away, we want to create a task in the AMS or the CRM. We have another one who just does a bulk upload with a unique identifier into the app. Then we log into their AMS. We pull all the data out of notes, out of deck pages, out of downloads, wherever the data lives. Use that, log in to their carrier websites, get it from their top carriers, and then put it back into the AMS. So there's a wide variety of possibility with browser automation. What's really cool is you don't need an API anymore to do this. We're logging in on behalf of somebody. We can get into the AMS, get into the carrier portal, and you don't need that API connection that we've waited forever for Vertafore, Applied, and carriers to give us, which is likely never coming.
Okay. All right. So went ahead and just got it done through different means. Okay. So you said they can also upload, sorry, an agent could also upload that information through a portal instead of sending an email, but have the same result.
You got it. Yeah, so there's a backend system where they could do that as well.
Okay. Very cool. What other use cases, or rather, what's a use case that's maybe underutilized? Something that Kay can do that maybe not enough agents, in your opinion, are taking advantage of?
I think the scope is pretty large as far as what it can do. When you think about how to implement AI in your agency at all, I would start just looking at interviewing your CSRs and your agents. Where are you spending a lot of your time doing data entry? Where are you spending a lot of time that you're unhappy with that if I took off your plate, then you'd be able to double your productivity? I think that's where I'd start with anything as an agency, and then go look at the solution that's best for you. There might be a better fit when it comes to a policy checking solution. There might be a better fit when it comes to a voice agent that if they're on calls all day with claims or on calls all day following up on things that they may be a better fit. If you find something that's more of a workflow that you can see end to end that's being repeat done where I hired a whole VA for this or I have three CSRs that collectively spend a human being's time for this. That's where you come to Kay and say, hey, let's stand this up. We can learn it and we can implement it. But it's a little bit different way of thinking about it in that sense.
Sure. So interesting. Okay. So when I'm working with agencies or having discovery calls with agencies all the time, I ask, do you have an SOP for this? Do you have SOPs for your agency?
Yep.
Because it's really hard to automate anything or even integrate two programs if you don't have a process that everybody's following when they do something. So, do you encounter that as well? And is that any kind of a barrier, or is it that what Kay can do is so specific that you mentioned even giving the agency an SOP? So, do you just have an SOP that you lay on top of what they're either doing, or maybe give it to them because they don't have anything that they have documented?
Great question. Yeah, the better the SOP, the easier it is to implement. If you're coming to us and you'd say, "Hey, Tucker, I want you to do personal lines quoting for home and auto with Safeco, Travelers, Nationwide, and Progressive," that's easy, and we can automate that. We can have your quotes back in less than an hour if all the data is present. Super easy for us to do. But if you were to come to us and you say, "Hey, I have this really complex servicing workflow that goes from A to B to Z," but I don't have any documentation around it. We say, all right, turn on your computer. We're going to watch you do it for 2 hours. And we're going to need to build SOPs around that alongside the agency. It's a lot better when they paint the picture, but we also can work with them during implementation to learn that.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. Backtracking a little bit, but it just came into my head. So if it's a quote or if it's a endorsement or any of the things that we've talked about so far, what kind of format does that information need to be in when you submit through the portal or you send that email?
Great question. It actually tees the solution up really nicely. It doesn't matter the format. So as long as the data is present, we can take unstructured data and turn it into structured data from about anything. A deck page, an application, an ID card, a statement of values, a loss run, a screenshot off your AMS, a downloaded input from Canopy Connect, your risk advisor form that gets downloaded, a screenshot of PL Rater. We've, as long as the data is there, data extraction, we have an AI engineer that has spent basically 10 years of his career doing data extraction. We're really good at that. Then it just becomes a method of teaching it where to go from there and doing the data entry, but the format essentially doesn't matter.
Interesting. Okay, that's fascinating. What excites you about K or even just the industry and where technology and the industry are at right now?
Yeah, so this presents a bigger vision that I have, and I think the founders have as well. I think we're moving from a subscription economy to a task economy. And you see this happening in a lot of different places. Today, I can go find somebody on TaskRabbit to do a specific task for me where they're doing the task based on it getting done. A lot of times you've seen in software, we're charging seats, right? You pay a license, but the software doesn't always really get you where you need to go. It's a cool little thing, but if it's not being used, why does it matter? We're basically solving a profitability game. We're solving a task game. I see a lot of different people saying, all right, I want this thing to be done. I hire a US employee, I hire a VA, I get some sort of RPA company, and you're paying this recurring fee no matter what's happening, right? How I want to think about things as a business owner is what is my margin on this task? How much time is being spent on it today? And how can I reduce that as much as possible? I think when you start thinking about things in a task world and in a task economy, and people start billing that way with their companies, that's true productivity and true profitability that you're talking about within a business. So I think that really excites me about being able to change the way people think about how they go to market and how they win.
Okay, you're blowing my mind a little bit. I love it. The idea of paying per task, not subscription based. And it also leans into something I've had some interesting discussions with other people that I want to loop you in on those discussions. But like agencies, I don't think maybe an exceedingly small percentage of them have any idea what their profitability per client is. None. And they're not willing to set expectations for their clients.
Yep.
Hey, in order to be a client of my agency, this is how you will engage with me. This is how you request help. This they want to be a send me an email, send me a postcard, send me a text. I'll figure it out. And that's grossly inefficient. It's super damaging to your profitability, all in the name of white glove service. And I shouldn't laugh, but I hear it a lot when I talk about certain things on calls when people are saying like, "Oh, our service is what sets us apart." If everybody's, it's like The Incredibles. If everybody's special, then nobody's special. If your differentiation is that you're good at customer service, but the customer service is making you less profitable and there's a better way to do it. Anyway, this is your interview, but I got on a soapbox. Sorry.
No, you fit right into where we want to go and where we are today. It's people drive relationships, relationships drive revenue. Anything that's not driving a relationship is something that's probably taking away from your people, driving your revenue. So it's a win-win situation for you if you're solving this problem. We feel that anything that's outside the scope of them truly driving that relationship and isn't like a little thing that they maybe spend 30 minutes a month on, probably you should find a way to automate it. It
Mhm.
becomes a simple math problem at that point. I've got this many people doing these amount of things, this amount of hours a month. I'm going to start trying to tackle the biggest ones and then go down the list or say, hey, maybe that's something that I'm just having my agents do until AI catches up with it. But we're definitely speaking the same language, Casey.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Last little couple things just for fun. Who are you listening to? Who do you pay attention to? Whether you call them an influencer or you call them, whatever. But if there's somebody that you get value from their content that you would encourage other people in the insurance space to listen to or watch or pay attention to, who might those people be? Or channels or podcasts?
Oh, that's a good question. To be honest with you, I read a lot of like entrepreneur books, like Shoe Dog, as Phil Knight's story, the founder of McDonald's. I read his book recently, and the little Netflix special is great. Love some of the other ones by Starbucks and their founder. So I read a lot of those, to be honest with you. As far as podcasts are concerned, the insurance guys are pretty good for insurance podcasts. Jason Cass is a friend like him. I like the content that he puts out. And then there's a number of them out there. I think I focus more on probably the AI and software or just building a company type content than I do the insurance specific content. And then I listen to fantasy football podcasts like a madman. It's my obsession. That doesn't really help anybody here, though.
It doesn't help anybody here, but you saw me light up. I had one of my drafts just this week, so I'm pretty excited about the season. Have you at least drafted yet, or are you still waiting?
If I told you how many leagues I'm in, you'd puke on camera, so I won't. But yeah, we've had a couple drafts already.
Okay, very cool. The next time we're in person, we can nerd out fantasy football over some beverages or something.
Love it. That would be great, Casey.
Awesome. All right, Tucker, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you again down the road. And we love partnering with you and want to keep helping you guys grow as much as we can.
Yeah, pleasure's on our end. Super excited to work with any agencies that are trying to elevate and really get AI workflows going. Thanks for having me. We're excited.
All right, you bet. Thanks, Tucker.